Hi everyone, for today's lesson, we are going to learn about rotations. Our I can statement for today is for you to be able to say, I can use coordinate rules to rotate, which rotate means to turn, a figure around the origin. The origin is the ordered pair 0, 0. I want you to be able to rotate a figure around the origin 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and 270 degrees counterclockwise. Counterclockwise is just like what we have up here in our arrow. It is going against the clock, going backwards based on clockwise. So for today's lesson, you will need the following materials. You will need scissors. You will need a glue stick or Scotch tape. You will need some colors, something to write with, and you will need to print out the Unit 1, Day 3 interactive notebook cutout and just cut out the box that you see here. Great. The first thing I would like to do is I would like to define what a rotation is. A rotation is a transformation in which a figure is turned around a fixed point. Called the center of rotation. So it is a transformation which is turned around a fixed point. A fixed point, fixed means does not move. So a fixed point does not move, it stays where it's at. And that fixed point is called the center of rotation. For our class, the center of rotation will be at 0, 0. It can be any point, but to keep things simple, our center of rotation will be located at a word called the origin, which is located at 0, 0. For our class as well, all rotations will be counterclockwise. And what counterclockwise means is it means that we are going backwards against the clock. That is counterclockwise. Counter means backwards. Backwards clockwise. All right, let's go ahead and look at our cutout for today. So there are 3 different types that we are going to be talking about. The first one is called 90 degrees. And our rule for 90 degrees is the following. XY changes into negative Y, comma, X. So in this example, we want to rotate this triangle of DEF 90 degrees counterclockwise. Counterclockwise will always be in there because you can rotate clockwise. It just depends on what the class is asking you to do or the question is asking you to do. But for our class, it will always be counterclockwise. And then I want you to identify the coordinates of the image and plot and label the image. So the first thing that I would recommend doing is identifying where D is located. According to our graph, it looks like D is located at 1, 1. So I'm going to write 1, 1. Then I'm going to identify where E is located. E is located at 5, 2. And then I'm going to identify where F is located. F is located at 2, 5. So here is D, E, and F. And we are going to be using the rule for 90 degrees to help us to rotate our pre-image. So I'm going to put an arrow each time to show that I'm going to be identifying what D prime, E prime, and F prime are located. So what this means is that I'm going to switch X and Y, but X is going to maintain its normal sign and Y will have an opposite sign. So I'm going to switch 1 and 1, so they're going to stay 1 and 1, but my Y value is going to become the opposite sign, and that's going to be D prime. E prime is where I switch my X and Y values. So I will switch 5 and 2, so it becomes 2 and 5. But my Y value of 2 will become the opposite sign, so it'll be -2. F prime, I'm going to switch X and Y, so it becomes 5, 2, but my Y coordinate is going to have the opposite sign. Now I'm going to plot D prime, E prime, and F prime on my graph. If it helps you to have a straight edge, I would recommend having a straight edge, or just using like the side of a packet is perfectly fine as well. So here is -1, 1, -2, 5, and -5, 2. This down here was D prime, here was E prime, and F prime. We always plot our points, we always label our points, and now I'm going to use a straight edge to draw my triangle. This triangle is indeed a true rotation, and here's how you can tell that this was a rotation about 0, 0. What you need to do is you're going to select a point. Let's say that we pick D. I am going to quickly draw a line or a segment going from 0, 0 to D and from 0, 0 to D prime. And when I do that, I notice that my graph has been rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise. Here is a 90-degree angle that is created. And you can always check yourself whenever you are looking at problems and looking at your work to verify that you did it correctly, to see, did I create the correct angle going in between the points that I have identified? So you can clearly see that there is a 90-degree angle in between D and D prime's rotation. The next one that we have is 180 degrees. 180 degrees' rule is a little bit different. It's XY changes into -X, -Y, or the opposite of X and the opposite of Y. So the order does not change. It stays the same. The thing that changes are the signs for both X and Y. So fortunately, the picture is going to be the same for each of our problems. So I'm going to write D is located at 1, 1. E is located at 5, 2. And F is located at 2, 5. And now I'm going to identify what D prime, E prime, and F prime are using my coordinate rule. So what's really nice about 180 degrees is that there isn't a whole bunch of thinking. It's just that our signs become the opposite. So D prime is going to become -1, -1. E prime is going to become -5, -2. And F prime is going to become -2, -5. And we're going to go ahead and plot these points on our graph. So here is -1, -1, -5, -2, and -2, -5. I'm going to label these D prime. Here's E prime. And here is F prime. Using my straight edge, I'm going to draw a triangle as neatly as I can. So here is D prime, E prime, and F prime. Just like before, I'm going to plot the origin, and I'm going to connect 2 points. This time around, I think I will connect E. So I'm going to connect E and the origin. And then I'm going to connect E prime with the origin. And what we have here is the rotation from E going all the way to E prime is a straight line. A straight line, as we know, is 180 degrees, and it's been rotated counterclockwise. So you can use any matching points to verify that you did your rotation correctly. And in this case, we rotated our triangle 180 degrees counterclockwise using our rule. The last one that we have is 270 degrees. And 270 degrees' rule is XY changes into Y, comma, the opposite of X. So it's a little bit different. The X and Y orders change, but instead of changing the sign of Y, we're going to change the sign of our X value. So fortunately for us, our ordered pairs are going to remain the same. So we have D is located at 1, 1, E is located at 5, 2, and F is located at 2, 5. And we're going to use this rule to help us identify what D prime is, what E prime is, and what F prime is. So D prime is located when you switch your X and Y values. So this is going to be 1, 1, but your X coordinate becomes the opposite sign. For E prime, we are going to switch X and Y so that it becomes 2 and a 5, but this time our X coordinate becomes different. So it's going to be a -5. And finally, I'm going to switch 2 and 5 to make it 5 and 2, but my X coordinate becomes the opposite. And now we're going to go ahead and plot these points. So I'm going to plot 1, -1 this time, 2, -5, and 5, -2. This is D prime, here is E prime, and here is F prime. To the very best of my ability, I'm going to draw a straight triangle to keep it as neat as possible. And now we're going to analyze it. Just like we did before with the others, we can connect the origin with one of the points. So I'm going to choose this time letter D again. And I'm going to connect the origin with D and D prime. And what you're going to see is a 90-degree angle. If we were to go forward clockwise, you're going to see that that is 90 degrees. But this isn't a 90-degree rotation. It's actually 270 degrees rotation to go from D all the way around to D prime. So if you think about it, 270 plus 90 more is 360 degrees. A full circle is 360. So even though you might see that 90-degree relationship going clockwise, it's actually a 270-degree rotation counterclockwise. To put this into your notebook, what I would like you guys to please do is please go ahead and take this cutout and fold it in half. Directly in half. And then I would like you to please go ahead and take these 90 degrees, 180, 270 rules, and I would like you to please fold it back along the dotted crease so that we can see the animation. So you guys can see the animation of a 90-degree rotation, a 180-degree rotation, and a 270-degree rotation. And when you open it up, you'll be able to see what our examples look like. So go ahead and paste this into your notebook, and that is the end of today's lesson. If you have any questions over anything that I talked about today, please make sure that you have a conversation with me as soon as possible. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day.